180 kilowatts of power on overboost.
What old mate means is it goes like a rat up a drain pipe.
Yours from only 53,990 drive away. Provides multiple health benefits in just one tablet. Centro, complete from A to Z.
Ward off the winter chill at the Maitland Aroma Coffee and Chocolate Festival, Riverside Car Park, August 11 and 12. For more, visit maitlandaroma.com.au.
The Burton family Toyota want your business. They're massively overstocked and all new Toyotas must clear ASAP. So don't sign anything till you compare their price on any Toyota. They'll do their best not to be beaten. Only at Maitland and Port Stephens Toyota.
The American couple accused of subjecting their 13 children to years of starvation, abuse and captivity have appeared relaxed while fronting court in California. David and Louise Turpin are facing 88 charges and the possibility of life behind bars.
Smiling and even laughing, David and Louise Turpin sat apart today in court, showing no signs of the severity of the charges they face and the horror they're accused of inflicting upon their own children. The couple face a combined 88 charges, including torture, abuse and imprisonment of their children over several years inside their family home in California, dubbed a house of horrors. Today, prosecutors agreed to a timeline for their trials. They'll return later this month with a formal trial, likely in October.
For my darling, he loves you.
Their 13 children continue to receive treatment, and today, in a sign they're attempting to move on, were granted access to their birth certificates. They'll also receive an old camera, one of their few possessions. It'll be used in evidence against their parents. Despite their appearance being brief, there was a small victory for the Turpins. One of the charges against them dropped after the court found their youngest child, aged just 2, was not malnourished. If found guilty, the couple will still face the rest of their lives behind bars. In Riverside, California, Charles Croucher, NBN News.
And 60 Minutes will have a special investigation on the Turpin case tomorrow night at 8:30. 10 months on from the Las Vegas massacre, police are no closer to knowing why gunman Stephen Paddock murdered 58 innocent people. Paddock fired more than 1,000 rounds into the crowd at a country music concert last October from his room on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Investigators today released their final report into the shooting, finding the accountant acted alone, but his motive is unclear. People living in New York City had the fright of their lives when a tornado ripped through Queens, downing power lines and at least 50 trees. Sparks were sent flying last night as the tornado travelled about 9 blocks. Thankfully, no one was hurt. A mother and her 4-week-old baby have cheated death when a chunk of metal flew at their windscreen while driving behind a truck. The drama was caught on the car's dash cam.
At 100 kilometres an hour on a Melbourne freeway, dashcam footage captures this. A large chunk of metal snaps off the back of a semi-trailer and smashes straight through Kayla Butler's windscreen.
It made an almighty crash sound through the windscreen, and then I started just wailing and screaming and just screaming her name, pretty much.
The piece of metal had bounced off the car's bonnet and hit the passenger seat at head height. Kayla's 4-week-old baby Zoe was in a capsule directly behind the seat. Both mother and daughter were showered in glass.
How close we both come to maybe him being a single parent.
It was twice that she broke down that night, just in tears, because the realisation that little to the left or to the right could have been completely two different stories.
Remarkably, neither Kayla or Zoe were injured, but the family car is likely to be a write-off, and the hunt is now on for the truck driver who didn't stop to help. It's unclear whether the truck driver knew what had happened, but either way, police are now appealing for them to come forward. Officers are also reviewing CCTV footage to identify the truck. Despite her mother's screams, the shattered glass and the metal leaf spring which came to rest in the front footwell, little Zoe managed to sleep through the whole thing.
I've just got to keep telling myself if I start thinking about what it could have been, we're here, we're safe.
Saturday morning netball turned from play 1 minute to disaster the next, when two grandparents were hit by a reversing car in Sydney's south. A woman was trapped against a fence before being rescued by a group of spectators. Tonight, she's in a serious condition in hospital. A simple mistake, an awful accident, which saw a morning of junior netball take a terrifying turn.
Just a massive bang, and then screams, of course, people scream.
Just after 10, a car ploughed into a couple who just arrived at the Miranda netball courts south of Sydney to watch their granddaughter's game, forcing parents and spectators, some of them off-duty paramedics, to rally into action.
Tempos lifted the car and pulled the person out that was pinned underneath.
As the man in his 60s was pulled free, attention quickly turned to his wife, trapped between the car and a fence.
They pulled the fence away. Amazing what you can do when you're in an adrenaline rush.
The heroic and quick-thinking teamwork, potentially life-saving.
Being able to get that treatment to the people straight away makes a big difference.
The couple were both taken to St George's Hospital with head injuries. It's believed the driver of the car mixed up the accelerator and the brake as she was trying to park. An horrific turn of events the couple could never have seen coming. But there's no doubt this incident could have been even worse. It was a Saturday morning, kids everywhere, and a car out of control.
There was people everywhere, but luckily the fencing in place was able to save any injury to any of the children.
There was a little girl leaning against the fence and she got catapulted off that.
She escaped injury, as did the driver. The woman in her 70s was taken to hospital for shock and has spoken to police. Alice Humphreys, NBN News. Parts of Portugal are bracing for record-breaking heat and catastrophic fire conditions, with temperatures expected to peak at 47 degrees over the next 24 hours. Michael Best is in Lisbon.
Well, emergency declarations are in place here in Portugal and also across the border in Spain. The fear is this incredible heat will fuel wildfires. So already there are thousands of firefighters on standby as well as extra staff in hospitals. Now this blast of African air certainly is hot. There is some forecasters are saying there's a chance that the all-time European heat record of 48 degrees could be broken at towns outside Lisbon today. Already 8 regions in Portugal have broken their all-time heat records. The European mark is something they're not hoping for.
Michael Best reporting there. Firefighters were busy today fighting a suspicious blaze in bushland near Wai'i on the Central Coast. Small bushfires in winter are the best way of beating bushfires in summer, so crews have been putting in long hours to lessen the threat with hazard reduction burns.
The smoke rising above the treetops and the roadside at Doyleson on the Central Coast well alight. When the fire started crowning, crews were pulled back and forced to begin back burning. A blaze thought to have been suspiciously lit.
We've had some reports they've seen people light the fire. We've given those details to the police and the detectives. They're currently investigating.
In Sydney, when a blanket of smoke had only just cleared, a weekend of planned hazard reductions got underway. This time, gusty winds pushing the smoke away quickly. A 26-hectare burn at Belrose, one of the biggest. Starting on the edges and then into the thick of it. Locals watching on, pleased it's happening now, then at the height of summer.
It allows us to not worry in summertime, I suppose, if the fire does come through, but at this time of the year it's great.
It is quite dry for this time of year. Usually we don't start hazard reductions just yet, but we're taking advantage of the conditions to try and get in early.
In the terrain, 80 firefighters are working away. The ground so dry, the burn is picking up quickly.
The conditions are really good this time to get in early and knock this out.
with help on the sidelines and from above. Every boundary along the hazard reduction zone here is being closely monitored. You can see just how near it is to some of the homes here in Belrose.
We're at the top of quite a steep hill here, and that's why this is such a strategically important hazard reduction, just to provide some protection to these communities.
26 hazard reduction burns are underway across the state. Another 3 are planned tomorrow at Narrabri, Hornsby and on the northern beaches. Zara James, NBN News.
Next, the extraordinary resilience being shown by a drought-affected community in northwestern New South Wales. And a rhino in a rage, a family's day to remember at the zoo.
When scent is carried through mist, it stays with us. New Airwick Essential Mist transforms fragrance infused with essential oils into mist to surround us with the fragrance we love. New Airwick Essential Mist.
Hey, whoa.
If you can see danger coming, you can stop it. At Specsavers, our optometrists can detect a range of health conditions before they become big issues. Every standard eye test includes free digital retinal photography to examine the back of your eye. So seriously, you should go to Specsavers. Book a full eye examination today.
The Newcastle Spring Sale on now. Up to half price off selected items. Save up to half price. The Newcastle Spring Sale on now.
Take your indulgence further with new Moccona Barista Reserve.
Homemaker sale at Spotlight. 40% off all faux wood Venetian blinds. Hudson Sunart roller blinds half price. All made to measure indoor blinds 30% off. Exclusions apply. Rush into Spotlight now.
Sydney's only commercial-free mornings. More music, more variety while you work. Over 3 hours commercial-free, weekdays from 9. 104.1.
Today FM. Hogs Value Dinner range starts at $25 delicious menu choices, all under $25 each. So for an amazing family night out, check out our 25 dishes, all for under $25. Head to Hogs, Australia's steakhouse.
Got a big day ahead? Maybe you've got a big crowd to feed. Order! Or a big case to win. Objection! To support your mental sharpness and physical energy, start your big day with Barocca.
There are times when Australia can test our love, and right now great stretches of the country are enduring terrible drought. In the New South Wales northwest, the community of Walgett is one of the hardest hit. They've had just one good season in 6 years, but the farmers are refusing to give in.